Hey guys, I'm Mohammed from Land of Coding, and this is part 5 of Easy Food series. In the previous video we've got a random meal and we display it in this image view. And in today's video we will deal with the click on this meal. So as you can see, this is the original app. When I click on this random meal, it will take me to this activity which will show all the details about that meal. So in today's video we will be creating this activity and we will get all this information for the random meal and we display them in this activity. So let's get it started. First of all, go to your activities package and create a new activity. And choose into activity and change the name to meal activity. Click on finish. And now import the R. Then open the XML file for this activity. To start designing, go to split mode. So first of all, change this constraint layout to coordinate layout because we want to use collapsing app bar layout. Now let's take a look on the app. As you can see, we are going to have a app bar layout. That app bar layout has a collapsing toolbar, and that collapsing toolbar has an image view that get collapsed when we scroll down. Also, it has a toolbar that shows when we scroll down. So we're gonna design this. Okay, so first of all, we're going to have app bar layout. This one will take the match parent of the width and give it 230 SDB for the height. Now we close this and add an ID app bar. Inside that we will have a collapsing toolbar and it will take match parent for both. Then close it and give it an ID which is collapsing toolbar, like that. So this collapsing toolbar is going to have some properties. The first one is the content scheme and this one is accent. The content scheme is the color of the toolbar when it get collapsed. So as you can see, when the toolbar get collapsed, its color is accent. That's cool. Another one is scroll flags. And this one is scroll and snap and exit until collapsed. And scroll flags is the one that responsible of the animation of this collapsing toolbar. So as we said, inside the collapsing toolbar, we're going to have an image view. It's gonna take match parent for both and give it an ID. Also, scale type is center crop and collapsing mode is parallax, which means the image view can get collapsed when we scroll down. Now one more thing we want to have is the toolbar, and make sure it's from Android X. Now this one is gonna take match parent and the size of the action bar for the height and give it an ID. And now collapsing mode. This one is pin, means the toolbar will never get collapsed. Now we wanna give a title for the collapsing toolbar, so title is meal name. We will change this to the name of the meal later in this video. Now let's test our app, but before we test it, we wanna reach to this by clicking on the random meal card view. So go to your home fragment from here and scroll down, create this function. And in this function, I'm gonna set a click listener on the random meal. So random meal card.set on click listener. Now I'm gonna create an intent from this activity to the meal activity. And then I'm gonna start this intent. Let's test our app now. Now I click on the random meal, takes me here. If I scroll down, as you can see, everything works fine. Now go back to your design, and as you can see, we have a floating action button. So now we're gonna add this. Now outside of your app bar layout scope, create floating action button. There's gonna be wrap content for both, and SRC is favorites. We already added this icon in previous videos. Now close it, and we want to change the background for this. So background tint, but make sure it's app, not Android. Now app background tint, which is accent, and also app tint equals, and this one is white for the icon itself. Now I want to set this floating action button in here. So to do that, I want to use anchor. So here you type anchor, and this anchor is according to the app bar. So here you give the app bar ID, and now I want to set the gravity according to this anchor, like that. Anchor gravity, as you can see, and then I give it bottom and at the end of this ID, which is the app bar. So it will show like that. Now one more thing is adding a margin from the end. And let's give it 10 as dB. Now I want to change the color of the app bar so I can see it in a better way. From here, background tint. Let's give it, for example, like that. This is just for preview, guys. Now go back to our original design. We still have two text views in here, and one text view for the instructions, and one text view for the instruction steps, and then we have an icon for the YouTube. So let's design this. First of all, we're gonna create a nested scroll view. View, nested scroll view. This is gonna take the match parent for both, and then close it. But before that, give it a behavior, and this behavior is app bar scroll. Oh, my bad. App bar, and here it is, as you can see, this one. App bar layout scrolling view behavior. Okay, so inside this nest scroll view, we're gonna have the rest of our design, which is two text views in here. So I'm gonna create a constraint layout, match parent and match parent, and this one is gonna have a linear layout for the two text views at the top. So linear layout, and match parent wrap content, orientation is horizontal, and I want to have a margin from the start 5 as dB, and margin from the end 5 as dB as well. Margin from the top 5 as dB. And now add the constraints. All with the parent. Now close this linear layout, and inside this linear layout we're going to have two text views. So the first text view is wrap content, and its text is category. For example, beef. This will get changed for every meal. And text style is bold, and text color is G black. We added this color at the first video of this series. Now we need to add the category icon on the left of this text view. So to do that, we add a left drawable. So drawable left, this one, and we add the category icon. And this icon we already added in previous videos. So add it like that, and we want to change its color to G black. So drawable tint G black. Alright, as you can see. Now give this text view a weight, and this weight is 1. Now copy this text view and paste it, because we said we're gonna have 2 text views. And this text view is for the area. So here, area, let's say Palestine. And now we want to change this drawable left to area. Let's see the icon we have here. It's this one. It's like the GPS icon. So you go to your drawable file and create a vector asset. This one is location. And this one, choose it. Now change its name to area. And click on next, then click on finish. Area, as you can see. Now another text view for the instructions. So let's add this one. Text view, wrap content for both. Text is instructions. But we added it in the linear layout. We should take it out of the linear layout inside here. So I'm gonna take it like that. Okay. Now let's add the constraints. Start with the parent. Second constraint is top to the bottom of this linear layout. So let's give it an ID. Linear layout, like that. And here, pass this ID. Alright, that's cool. I'm gonna have a margin from the top. Let's give it 5. And margin from the start, also 5 as DP. Now text style, bold. Text color is black, not G black, it's black. And font is my font. And text size, let's give it 15 SSP. Let's compare it to our design. I want to increase the margin from the top to 7 or maybe 10. Okay, yep, I'm gonna go with this. Now we still need one text view for the instruction steps. So I'm gonna copy this and paste it below of it. Then I'm gonna edit on its properties. So here I'm gonna delete the text, gonna delete the size, the font family, the color is black, yes, we need that. The text style, delete it. And we're gonna need to change the constraints. The first constraint is start with the instruction text view. So before that, let's add an ID for the instruction text view. And now we're gonna add the constraints. Another constraint is from the top to the bottom of the instruction text view, like that. Now we're gonna change the margin to, let's give it a margin 2 SDB from the top. We still need to add one more thing, which is the YouTube icon in here. So to add this, go outside of here and create an image view. This image view, let's give it 40 SDB for both. And give it an ID, image, YouTube. And now I'm gonna give it a gravity. I want it in the bottom and in the center. Alright, now I'm gonna give it the image of the YouTube. You can actually download a YouTube icon, or you can use any icon from the Android Studio. For me, I'm gonna just create a drawable vector asset like that. This is the one that I'm going to use. So you search here video and you will find it here. So just select it and change the color to red and then change its name to YouTube. Click on next and finish. After that, just add it in here like that. But I want to give it a margin from the bottom 10 dB. Okay, it looks very good now. So let's test our app. Let's see how it looks like. Let's click on this image. And yes, everything works as we want. So what we want to do now, when we click on this random meal, we want to send its image and its title, also its ID to this activity. And when we get this information, we will display the image of the meal. Also, we will show the title of that meal instead of meal name. Then we want to create a retrofit call to get the rest of the information. So let's do that. But before that, we forgot to add the progress bar in here. So I'm gonna add it now. As you can see in our app, if I go back and if I go in, then we have this progress bar shows. As you can see, I'm gonna add this now. So in here, I'm gonna type indicator progress bar, choose the linear one, and give it match parent for the width and wrap content for the height. Then indeterminate, set it to true and close this. Now give it an ID, which is progress bar. Now I want this progress bar to be at the bottom of the up bar layout. To do that, we need an anchor as we did in the floating action button. So here anchor, we need it according to the up bar, and now gravity according to that anchor is to the bottom. So this shows in here. Let's see. Okay, as you can see, but by default I want this gone. So now go to your home fragment and go to the top, close this. Now in here we're gonna have a companion object, open curly brackets. In here we're going to have 3 keys for the extras of the intent. The first one is constant value, the meal ID, capital letters, and I want to give it a unique value, so I'm gonna use this way. I'm gonna take the package name and then add this to it. I'm gonna do the same for the meal name, and the same change here. One more for the meal thumb. Here thumb. Now also we want to have private letting it the random meal is going to be a meal. Alright, now scroll down. In the previous video we've got the random meal in this live data. This is the random meal we want to use. So assign this meal to this random meal. So in here, this dot meal dot random meal, equals meal. Now this random meal has all the information about that random meal. Okay, so in here I'm gonna add the extras. So intent.put extra. The first extra is meal ID, and it's the random meal dot meal ID, this one. Another extra for the meal name. So meal name random meal dot str meal, and the meal picture dot put extra meal thumb random meal dot str meal thumb. Now go to the meal activity, and first thing you want to do is having a binding instance for this activity. So let's create one. And in here we're gonna initialize it. Then we will return the root of this binding. Now I'm gonna have this function to get the information of the random meal from the intent. Get random meal or get meal information from intent. Create this function, and in this function we're gonna get the intent, and now I'm gonna create 3 variables. The first one is the meal ID, and it's a string. Second one is meal name, also string. One more for the meal picture, so meal thumb, and it's a string. Alright, now in here I'm gonna assign these variables. So the meal ID will equals intent dot get string extra. Now you pass the key. The key is home fragment dot meal ID. It's this one. And in here add the non-null. Now do the same for the meal name and meal thumb. Okay guys, so now we have 3 information. We have the meal ID, we have the meal name, we have the meal thumb. So what we're gonna do now is show the meal thumb inside the image view, also the meal name in the toolbar. So let's do that. Now I'm gonna create a function here which is set information in views, and create this function. In this function, we're gonna use glide to set the meal image inside the image view. So glide.with application context dot now load. We have the URL of the image inside this variable. Dot into binding dot image meal detail, which is this one. Also, I'm gonna show the name of that meal in that toolbar title. So to do that, type here binding dot collapsing toolbar dot title equals, now change the title to the meal name. Now we're done. Let's see our app. Now we click on this random meal, and now we are able to see the image view of that meal and the meal name. But we have a problem here, which is the color of the meal name. So we want to change it to white. To do that, back to this function, go to new line, now binding dot collapsing toolbar dot set collapsed title text color, the first one. Now resources dot get color r dot color dot white. Now this changes the title text color when the toolbar get collapsed. Let me show you. Now it's black, but when I collapse it, it turns to white. I also want to show it white in here. So how to do that? In here you come and write binding dot collapsing toolbar dot set expanded title color. Here resources dot get color. You pass this color. As you can see, it's white. Alright, so now what I want to do, I want to create a retrofit call to get the information of that meal and then display it in the views. As you can see, this is our API that we are working with, and our API provide us this REST API to look about a meal by its ID. So if we open this link, this is the information of a meal that its ID is 52772. So now go to Android Studio and go to your meal API, and now we're gonna get, and we said that this is the base URL and this is the part that we take, but this time things are different. We only gonna take this part, because when you see question mark, that means you are looking for something by ID, for example, or by name. So you take from the question mark to the base URL, but you don't take anything from the base URL. So you copy it and go back to Android Studio, then paste it in here. And now we're gonna create the function which is get meal details, and in here we're gonna use query annotation. Inside this query you're gonna pass I, so you take I and put it in here, and now in here we're gonna take ID, which is a string, and this one will return a call of a meal list. Now we want to use this inside our view model, so let's go on view model and create another view model. In here you go to new and choose Kotlin class. This view model is for the meal activity, so meal view model. Now create this. It's going to inherit from view model class, and now we're going to have a live data, so private var meal detail live data equals mutable live data, and inside this mutable live data we will have one meal, which is meal. We represent that meal in a meal class, and now we close the brackets. Now under this we want to create the function to get the random meal and put it inside this live data. Now I'm gonna write a function get meal detail, and we get the detail of the meal by its ID. So we're gonna have one parameters in here, which is a string, and then open this. Now in here I'm gonna use the retrofit instance dot API dot get meal detail, and we pass the ID. Then dot enqueue, we pass object from callback, and make sure it's from retrofit, and this will have a meal list in its generic. Then open curly brackets and override these two methods. In this method we check if the response body does not equal to null, then we know that we have a meal, so we want to put that meal inside this live data. Live data dot value equals response dot body dot meals, and we know it's in the first index, so we give it 0, and now we add non null. Now else I wanna return. Now on failure, what I want to do in here is log the error message. Now we want to have one more function so we can listen to this live data from the outside. So here function observe meal detail live data. This one will return a live data. It's a meal. Now we return the mutable live data. Alright, now we're done with the view model. Now go back to the meal activity, and in here we're gonna create a instance of that view model. So private latinate var meal MVVM, which is meal view model. We forgot to use latinate keyword. Now I'm gonna initialize this in here. So this one will equal view model providers dot of this, and we give it the view model class. Now we want to use this instance to get the meal details. So here meal MVVM get meal detail, and we have the meal detail in this variable, so you pass it in here. And now we want to observe the live data. So I'm going to create a function for that. Observe meal details live data. create that function, and in here I'm gonna use the meal MVVM to observe that live data. Now this will take lifecycle owner, which is this, and object from observer, and make sure it's from Android lifecycle. And now we pass meal in here and open curly brackets. Let me just import meal. Then we want to override onChange method. In onChange method, we are going to set the category and the area, also the instructions. So let's do that. So in here, I'm going to have a value meal equals t. Now go to your design. We forgot to add the IDs for these text views. So I'm going to add them now. ID, TV, category, ID, TV, area. This text view, it's okay, ID, TV, instructions, steps. Now we're gonna set the category binding.tv category.text equals meal dot category. But before that, it's gonna be category, then this, like that. Now we also want to set the area, so tv area dot text equals area, and here meal dot area. Also we want to set the instruction steps, so binding dot tv instruction steps dot text equals the meal dot instructions. We can remove this from here. Okay, that's cool. Now let's test our app. Now when we click on this meal, we're supposed to see all its information. Now let's do it again with another meal. As you can see, everything works fine. Now we're almost done, but there are a few things like the progress bar. What we want to do now is hiding all the views, expect the image view and the title, and show the progress bar, and we will get the response from the API, we show them again. So let's do that. I'm going to create two functions now. One function is private function loading case, and another function on response case. So in the loading case, we will hide the floating action button and this text view, this one and this one. So let's do that. We don't have an ID for the floating button. Let's add it. Button add to favorites. Go back. Now binding button add to favorites dot set dot visibility equals view dot invisible. I want to do the same for the others. Here we have TV instructions, also TV category area, also for the YouTube icon dot visibility equal view dot invisible. And the most important thing, which is the progress bar dot visibility equals view dot visible. Now copy all of this and paste them in here, but we wanna change them. So invisible will be, so the visible one will be invisible and the invisible one will be visible. So we will call the loading case when we ask for the request from the API, and so before this method, And on response case, when we get the response from the API and we get it in here in the observe meal live data, we get it in this function because this function will listen to the live data, and if the live data changes, that means we have a response. So I'm gonna use this method in here. Now let's see. Anyways guys, we still have one thing, which is the YouTube click. When I click on this button, I wanna go to YouTube and start watching a video about this meal. So on a create method, we're gonna create a function on YouTube image click, create this function, and here binding dot image YouTube dot set on click listener, and now we're gonna have intent equals intent. In here you will type this intent dot action view, and now URI dot parse. Here you will pass the URL of the YouTube link. We don't have the link in these variables, so to get it, we can get it from here. So I'm gonna create here a variable for the YouTube link, private latinate var YouTube link, which is a string, and in this one I'm gonna assign it meal.str YouTube, and in here I'm gonna pass the YouTube link. Now start activity. Let's test that. Click on this meal. If I click on this image, I should go to YouTube, as you can see, and everything works as we want. So guys, this is the end of this video. Thank you for watching, and catch you in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. See you.